Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are all outshone today by none other than little Sterling over here. Got to hold him up. Show everybody that outfit.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
he's like, we're live now.
So he's got this awesome, oh, shit, hold on. Hudson Speedway little fire suit that the Halliwells gave him, which is awesome, by the way. And
that thing is pretty cool.
This is probably the cheapest thing that he'll get for a while, because then he'll want, Daddy, I want a race car. And so you have to go talk to your buddy Derek here to give you some tips.
Derek Griffith.
What's up, everybody?
You drive what, like mini stocks or something like that?
Used
something
to.
like that. Used to drive them. JT Cloutier over here. Oh, for some reason I don't have. There we go.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. We didn't have anybody over the last week. I had it muted. So JT drives modifieds. You come into all the tracks this year. What's up, buddy? How's that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to step out of Monadnock and I guess get to some other tracks. We went to Lee last year, which was wicked fun. We went to Claremont once, bought another car. And
you have not run Hudson before, you said.
Have not run Hudson before.
You have a practice this weekend. You're going to, hopefully you head over there for that.
Yeah, hopefully we can. We got to get the other car together. Maybe we can make it.
So how many mods you have now? Two. All right. So the one that you had last year, that one was pretty sweet looking. I didn't even know you were Michelle's kid. I met JT last year because I was up in the tower wiring something and literally was told, if anybody walks through that door, kick him out of the tower immediately. He, like JT walks up, he's like, have you seen Michelle? I'm like, you got to leave, because if anybody sees you in here, I'm going to get screamed at by somebody. And he's like, Michelle's my mom. I'm like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. I didn't realize. I had never met you before. So you got started out racing when you were 5 years old.
Yep.
Like, how did you get in? Obviously, your family's involved in racing, but 5, man, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, so my grandfather raced. My dad raced a little bit. Kind of saw a go-kart at Racerama when I was younger, and we bought one and been doing it ever since.
Didn't your grandmother or someone say, oh, because I remember your mom telling me the story. That, oh, don't worry, your parents will get you one or something. And you walked up, like, I want a go-kart. And your mom's like, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah, my grandmother actually was the one who brought me to Racerama. So
grandparents, man, they always seem to, I always heard about that. And then when now my dad watches him.
He's whispering in Sterling's ear, ARCA car.
No,
ARCA, ARCA.
No, if anything, I'll pay for the Xfinity ride. Screw ARCA.
Oh, boy. Mr. Derek Griffith, you just went 2 for 2 going into Loudon, and boy, Loudon wasn't your friend again this year.
That place is never my friend. It's just treated me so bad.
Where do you stand on the whole small cars, big track debate that's been apparently blowing up the internet for a week?
It's hard because, I think people do belong there. I think those race cars do belong there. I think maybe half the field maybe doesn't belong there, I guess. When they did the Invitational, it was pretty cool. And I think that would be a good way to do it. But the problem is then you end up.
Don't worry about it. He's just going to make it quick.
He's out of here.
He's out.
But, I mean, it's such a costly event to put on. So you justify it by getting cars there, and, you end up in a kind of an oxymoron there. You get stuck. So, I don't know. It's I've been on both ends of it there. I've done good there, and I've also been destroyed. So,
thanks to that, I do have that door panel, so that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So
I did get a little bit of a souvenir off of that.
Yeah.
Derek's like,
Did you touch the car
destroyed.
that day?
I did not.
Okay.
I told remember at Florida, I'm like, you touch his car, I'm going to break your goddamn hand.
So I was at Derek's shop the other day. Tell everybody first what your shop is so everybody knows, because, you got to shout at your sponsors, including your own, too.
Yeah, Northeast Auto Imports. It's over in Hudson, and we sold the RaceDay TV a new tow rig.
That thing is awesome.
That thing is sick.
Yep, yeah, new tow rig. So, but yeah, you stop by.
He looked at me, and Derek looks at me. He's like, Ben asked me if you touched my car in Florida. I was like, I promise I didn't. He's like, yeah, I know, I saw. I wouldn't let you. I know better, because my luck, I would have been like, I'm just going to sneak a touch, and he's going to win, and my curse will be over.
Yeah.
Thank God that was not the day I chose to do that.
Car's destroyed.
Car's completely destroyed. That car, that's not the one you're driving now. What is the story behind the one you're driving now? Because that thing seems fast as hell.
Yeah. So it's the same one that we won the races with last year. It's a crate motor car that we bought off Garrett Hall Garrett Hall bought it brand new from Fury, and I think he just maybe struggled a little bit with it. So we got into it, and I mean, it's been great. I think it's run really good every single race. It's set fast time at Berlin a couple times. It's won the 10,000 win race last year. It won the 2 races this year. So, you get some good ones every now and then, and that's definitely one of them.
I'm hoping it wins the Pro Stock Nationals this year.
Fingers crossed. It's a really good car, though. I'm super pumped with that thing.
Of course, I put him right on the spot the other day. I asked, I was like, "You're going to take the ladder challenge, right?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Come on!"
I said the same thing last year, and I still took it.
Yeah, no. Last year, you're like, yeah, no, my car, I just don't feel it today. I'm like, all right, man, hey, you know what? Whatever, no big deal.
They all said no.
And the microphone comes up, he's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, and then Louis like 5 seconds before he come to the window, and you had it right in cash, right in my face. And Louis like, you should just do it. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it. So sure enough, it almost paid off.
Yeah.
I almost got it, but it didn't. Got a right front flat. That didn't help, but
Yeah, that stinks. That was a bad day.
yeah, it's still fun.
Oh, of course it is. Every time you still were up there. Where did you end up finishing that day?
I think we came back. We
You got up to, I should say. You got up to where?
4th, I think, and then we got a flat with like 50 to go. We borrowed somebody else's tire, right front tire, and then we went back out and finished like 7th with no sway bar on it because we wore the sway bar arm off. But yeah, so I still had fun. It was cool.
So one of the things this year when we do the North American Pro Stock Nationals at Lee USA Speedway is whoever takes that challenge, I actually now have it so we can keep track of them the entire show. So on the Bowden Corner, whoever took that challenge, their position's going to be listed the entire time.
That's cool.
Because this year is a little different. It's a progressive bonus. So you never know. If you take that challenge, you're giving up your starting spot. Well, the Pro Stock Nationals, it's $2,000 to start. And then if you just take that challenge, you automatically have money coming to you. And then when you get up, you get it to the top 20, it increases. You get to the 15th, it increases. You get to the 10, it increases. So we're hoping that will entice some more people. I think
it definitely makes it a little more incentivizing.
Yeah. I think the fight will actually be who is going to actually take it now. I think people are going to fight to try to get up front just so they can be the ones to take that challenge. I mean, it's an extra $10,001.
I mean, how many laps is it again?
200.
Yeah, so I mean, you have plenty of time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll probably take it if I'm in the position to do it. I'll probably do it. Might as well. Louis will talk me into it, and so is Ben.
Yeah, I'll just say, come on, Derek. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah. All right, Ben. All right, I'll do it.
He's like, I'll do it. I'm sorry. JT, so explain to me, your mom said you didn't have any really good luck when you moved up to the modified ranks the first couple of years.
Actually, the first couple we did pretty fine.
She lied to me.
She lied.
It's right there. Bullet point number 72. JT did not have good luck driving a modified driver. It's right there. Paper doesn't lie. I'm just joking.
Yeah, no. So when we first started out, I mean, I guess I was still pretty young too. We were first starting to get in. I mean, I was 15. So the first couple of years, I was kind of focusing more on like my sports that was going on at that time. And then we kind of got in a bad wreck. I needed a new car. We decided to upgrade a little bit, and then kind of went downhill from there.
What is it for a chassis that you drive?
We have an 0108 with a TA1 front and rear.
Okay. And
Troyer.
You have another car, you said too. So
yeah, that's just a TA3.
Oh man, I just want to sit in one. The last time I got in a modified, it took me like 18 minutes to get back out of it though, and that was 100 pounds ago. So I'm pretty sure that's not happening. You were also, she said, a standout athlete in 3 sports on top of racing as well.
Yeah, I did play 3 sports when I was in high school, and I did manage to be able to still race every Saturday. I guess that permitted. So
that's absolutely crazy. What race are you looking forward to the most this year? And it doesn't even have to be one at our facility.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to Lee at the end of the year.
Really?
Yeah, I loved that track. I went once, and I loved it.
How did you fare? I don't remember, unfortunately.
That track, we went green to checkered.
Nice.
So
that's the one, the 95.
I've never done that.
Al Gabard.
Before I owned it, I never went green to checker. I always wrecked.
I remember there was a couple of us that were in the back being patient. We were all pretty fast, and all of a sudden, lap like 25, Leader was on the backstretch with us. So I was like, okay, gotta go. And then used everything up for about almost the rest of the race, and ended up getting lapped on lap 65.
Man, that race needed a caution.
Yeah.
100%. But congratulations, too, to Al Gabard, who's a super nice dude as well. And he led almost every – did he lead every lap? I think he led almost every. Yeah, first modified win too. You do it, at a huge race at Lee USA Speedway. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Your home track, Derek, that if people that don't know, is Hudson Speedway.
Correct.
So when you show up around the country with a car that says Hudson Speedway on it, you get the fire suit that says Hudson Speedway. Do any of these guys ever look at you and be like, "What is this track? What's the deal?" Like
all the time. Yeah, they're like, who's the guy? Who's that guy? Like Ben, they'll always ask me about Ben. Who's the guy? Because obviously racing with the other stuff too, there was a lot of questions but the guys like it was cool because guys like Bubba Pollard ask about them and they're interested in Lee for the big money to win race, and we slowly kind of coursed them into going. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I mean, he wanted to go anyways, but it didn't take much. So, but I told him that this was probably going to happen. Late last year, I talked to him, and but everyone wants to know what is this? What is Hudson Speedway? And then I go down the rabbit hole of like Hudson, Claremont and Lee kind of all work together, and a lot of the racetracks up here in the Northeast are in like a union a little bit, or were for a while. So it's pretty cool to kind of explain because there's you go down south and there's not racetracks every hour. 1 hour away from each other.
we're pretty lucky in New England.
Yeah, I tell people there's like 10 to 15 racetracks you can go race at within 2.5 hours, and people are like mind blown, especially down south in like Florida or Alabama. I mean, they got to drive 4 hours from racetrack to racetrack. So it's pretty cool to.
We drove 3 hours to a racetrack that's been closed for years. It's not abandoned. Don't call it abandoned. It's just closed. But it is a cool place.
Yeah, it is.
I've heard.
So you moved up the ladder in the last couple of years. You jumped into the trucks. You jumped into Xfinity and stuff like that, and you kind of stepped back from your short track program. And now you're back in the short track program. Are we going to stick here for a while? Are we going to move up again? Any plans on the? Obviously, you would love to be in Cup. I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because I feel like it's hard for me or maybe like a person like me to fit in at that next level. I know I can race. Like I race.
If they allow Noah Gragson to be in there,
you'll
be fine.
Yeah, I know. But Noah's like that's who he is though. He's entertaining. He's a Vegas, homegrown Vegas kid that just has the entertainment factor about him.
He definitely does.
And he's probably like one of the nicest guys in racing that I've ever met too. So, but I don't know. It's just there's just so much politics involved at that level. I love racing. I love racing at that level is really cool, but like going there and worrying about all the other factors rather than just like worrying about racing I didn't even get a chance to touch the car ever. So to me, it was just a different world. And I think it took away from my racing program. Really, I think it did. It was cool to be able to do it, but I did it at a terrible time. No practice. We struggled with some mechanical problems pretty much every time I went out.
And I threatened the car owner to
that was awesome.
the truck and trailer if he didn't fix that motor.
He was just as mad, but it's definitely it was hard because we could have run a lot better.
Especially at Loudon. I'm sorry, you
were the car to beat once the car was
you were
running.
the car to beat at Loudon. And trust me, I'm pretty sure Kevin Brown heard me from the top stands. I'm calling him. I go, because he was right behind. He was right in the pit area. I'm like, what the hell's going on? He goes, Ben, I don't know. I go, just walk in there, tell him you freaking own everything. You just ask.
It was frustrating because even with no power steering, I think we drove to 13th.
You did, yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. But that seems to happen to me every time I do this, though. Every time I get a chance to do something, it just something weird happens. I think the power steering line fell off, or they had an issue with the pump. I forget what happened.
Yeah.
But
what was more disappointing to you, the run at Loudon or having your teammate take you out at Daytona?
Probably the run at Loudon. The Daytona thing was frustrating because we went through a whole entire day of testing, and all day they told us there is no bump drafting in the corners. We're not supposed to bump draft at all, but we did anyways. Those cars are just not made to bump draft. The noses on them are so round, like you're just going to get sent off the nose. And we spent the whole day working together, all 4 cars, and lap 9, you throw it out the fucking window. It was unbelievable. I pushed her all the way to the lead. I passed her, and I'm like, we're gonna ride it out. We're gonna have a really good run, and go down the backstretch and get spun out. I'm like, I just couldn't even believe it happened. And that was in their super speedway car number 001. That car was 22 years old. So I was just so beyond frustrated. But I mean, it's just what you deal with at that level, unfortunately. Which is why I don't partially don't like it.
Those ARCA cars, because that's what that one was in, is the ARCA. Those things range. And it's weird because they all have that new style composite body on it. Then you go and look, and like I remember talking to that guy at Daytona this year, and he's like, "Yeah, this car's like almost as old as you are."
Yeah,
and
they're
like,
all
oh,
cup
really?
cars. Yeah, they're all like '90s cup cars or early 2000s cup cars that they convert.
They don't charge for a '90s Cup ride. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it's feast or famine. You can spend 10 times the amount if you go with some guy who doesn't rent a motor, or there's a million different options, but it gets messy.
I gotta ask you, you go all the way from Hudson Speedway as a kid all the way to walking out into Daytona, and me as a guy who went to Daytona for the first time last year just as a competitor, just as a watching from the stands, what does it feel like as a competitor the first time you get in lineup to go out on that track? What's going through your head?
It was like overwhelming. First, you don't realize how big it is. Like, I had never been in the infield until I did the open test.
You should hang out with Mike Parks more. He sneaks you into the infield.
Yeah.
He confused this guy. He's like, the guy's like, I think these guys are important. We should let them in. Yeah. Mike's like, definitely important. And then Ben has to walk in from 5 miles away.
I love
And
it.
then they wouldn't let me go half the places you guys already went. I'm like, I have the same tag. Like, yeah, no, we don't care. I go, okay, I'm done. I'm going to get food.
That's so funny. Yeah, it was just overwhelming. I mean, you walk in, like I said, I turned around after going in through the tunnel, like I think it's in turn 3 or whatever. And like you see how high the grandstands are, and it's like unbelievable. So the banking was crazy. And then when you got out there, the air was really important. I'd never realized that until I did it. But I didn't realize how boring it could be. Like, if you get by yourself and you drive around Daytona, there's nothing going on. Like, you just paint the white line on the bottom, drive around by yourself. If you get drafting, that's cool. It's fun. There's all sorts of stuff you can do and play around with, but like, you drive around there. Like, I think there was a video of Taylor Gray, and he had his cell phone, and he took his phone with him.
I did hear about this.
That was the day I was there, and he drove around Daytona Speedway holding his cell phone out.
Oh, boy.
To take a Snapchat.
I was surprised NASCAR didn't.
They did not like that. Yeah. But that just goes to show like how boring it can be.
So rolling the clock back to Hudson Speedway, Bob Weber Sr. and the old Thunderlight days. Looking back now, and you drive everything. Like, you're down in Florida in those outlaw cars. You're driving super late models. You're driving super modifieds. Rolling back to when you had your Thunderlight days, when you look back, what do those days mean to you now, and what have they done to help your career?
It was crazy because like this was I was never supposed to do what I did. I watched my dad run Enduro cars, so we wanted to. I skipped out on football. He made me choose, and I was not good at football, like I'm sure you were if you played. So he made me choose, and I'm like, I want to drive race cars. That's what I want to do. So we bought a little $600 Volkswagen Golf.
Did you still have that?
My dad bought it back, got it painted, and put the original numbers on it and stuff.
It's awesome.
And gave it back to me. The whole team did, which I thought was super cool.
There's a video of it online somewhere.
I had no idea too. So like, I rolled in one day. They're like, come to the shop on Saturday. We don't have anything going on for a month. I'm like, all right, I'll go to the shop. And there's something under a cover. So I rolled in, and I could tell, I kind of knew what it was, but then they pulled the cover off. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, starting there, I think I built like a really good friendship group from that. Like, I still talk to Dylan Bilodeau. He beat me by 9 points the first year, and he holds it over my head to this day. But no, I mean, I met really pretty much everyone. I met Ben those first few years. So I think I raced against you or your dad in the Outlaws soon after.
My dad, I think.
Yeah, yep. I remember he was very upset my first day. He's like, this kid is too young to be racing with us.
My dad's a prick like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I lapped him 3 times.
Yeah, well, bear in mind, the car that he had was literally a Pete
Probably
Van Dyke
older than
car.
me, yeah.
Dude, it was ancient. Because I drove it and I go, dude, this thing's like, I might as well have been out there on a horse and buggy with everybody else. That's how bad that car was.
It looked hard to drive.
Oh, yeah.
His Florida mod is probably my favorite paint scheme on a car. Your dad's.
Oh, God, that thing's a toilet, too.
I've told him flat out. I was like, when
that
you
thing sucks.
figure out what you're doing with that car, I want the door panel off it. He's like, why? I'm like, it's awesome. That paint scheme on it, the number style.
That was actually Dickie designed that.
Dickie does pretty. I got to give a shout out to Synergy Signworks. They did wrap the new RaceDay TV truck. Already, this is I've had a pretty good run. Don't count today because I had McDonald's today too. But I bring it with everybody in the office and shit. But I haven't had McDonald's for like 2 months. I'm heading up to Lee the other day, so I pull into Methuen and I get at McDonald's right off the exit, and I'm eating. I literally have a bacon cheeseburger. All of a sudden I look over and George Helliwell is just looking at, like, out his window, looking at me, going like this. And I'm like, really? The one time he's like, all you do is eat, and I'm like, come on.
That's very George. George.
And he's like looking at me. He's in a work truck, and he's like, yeah, I live 8 miles down the road. I'm going home. I'm like, maybe you should work. And he's like, I work for my brother. It's all set. I was like, oh, okay. But it's like, anytime I do anything like that, I get busted. So those days that you had in those, what have you carried over from the kids division that you learned that you still use today?
I think I still love it the same way. Like, I still get excited. I mean, anytime we get to do this, like, you strap into a race car, or at least I say to myself, I'm like, holy shit, I'm in a race car. Like, this is actually happening every time. Like, no matter what, no matter where I am, it could be at Lee for the 3,000th time I've been there. But I think that's carried over. Weber Senior did a lot for me, younger me, and that's carried over a lot. He taught me a lot. He was very disciplined with how the kids raced, and it was more. He did a really good job at teaching us what to do, what not to do, and making sure we stayed responsible for things, which was really good for me. I mean, Weber Senior did a lot. He bumped me up to the next division the year after on his call because Dylan left because he was scared. I think I beat him twice in a row, so he left. But no, so he moved us up after, and I mean, he continued to keep in touch with me my whole life, and so did his wife. So it was cool. I mean, she still calls me on my birthday, which is just wild. My grandmother was really good friends with them. But yeah, so that whole sense of like meeting these people was such an important part of my young career, and still to this day.
How old were you when you first jumped into a car?
I think I was 11 or 12. I want to say.
So that Thunderlight was your first.
Yeah. I went right to the Thunderlight. I hadn't run karts. I hadn't run anything, and I just decided one day we wanted to drive a race car. So
moving over to JT. So I look here. You have kind of a completely opposite. You started racing at 5 at Pinnacle Raceway in Chicopee, Mass.
Yeah.
Are they still in existence? I've never heard of this place.
I don't think they are, sadly.
And a Tiger Cub. And so explain your process. You started in a cart, and then I'm looking at all these different places you've raced and where you moved up to. Explain your career that you had.
Yeah, so I pretty much, I guess, started when I was really young, so 5, raced go-karts pretty much everywhere until I was about 11. Then started racing in Monadnock in the Young Guns the first year they started. Moved up to Mini Stocks when I was 13 and raced till I was 14 there. That was the last time I was in a Fender car, and I've been in a modified ever since.
Where do you see, is this a hobby for you, or is this a career? Would you want to get up higher than a modified? Is this where you want to be? Where are you looking division-wise down the road?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I drive anything, honestly. I don't really, whatever it is, if someone wants to put me in a car, I'd drive it.
Super modified, you jump in one.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, those things scare the life out of me. You jumped in one and did pretty good.
Yeah, I love them. They're really cool. I wish I could race them a little bit more. I might race them a little bit more, but they're very, very unique.
What is your favorite car that you've driven so far? Because you've moved all the way up through from the little cars all the way up to a mod.
It's got to be a modified or a champ kart, either one of those two. Honestly, just the modified, the fact that you can drive so fast and those things stick, and I guess you can get right back on the throttle. They got enough horsepower, and I've learned to be able to control them pretty well. So being able to, I guess, go through the learning and having the most seat time behind the wheel of a modified is definitely my favorite.
Now, you were going to race any MRS races, or are you just doing
not unless I get another motor, which we just got that other car, so probably not this year. I've been Adnock. I don't know how the track will be now that it's paved, but previously we've been able to stick with them because it's small enough and banked enough where we can we don't have to take it easy for the whole race. I'm pretty sure because MRS is coming to Hudson, I think you would probably do pretty good at Hudson with it because Hudson's not really a horsepower track. I mean, do you think so? I mean,
I wouldn't say. How many laps do they run? I've only run one.
None of us know.
Yeah,
Nice.
Probably 100.
So I've only run open wheel big motor car once at Lee. Well, twice. It was a doubleheader, and excuse me. I was very surprised on the fall off. Like it was
But that's at Lee,
brutal.
though.
Yeah. So I think you get away with either at Lee or at Hudson.
Yeah.
Hudson, there might be enough to do it there. It'd be tight, but
Well, when Tri-Track went to Monadnock a couple years ago, the crate cars were keeping up with the tour cars.
I mean, I do it all the time with my super late, a pro late model super. I mean, we brought a pro car to Citrus, which was a stop and go racetrack with a ton of grip, and we started 27th and finished 4th with no brakes.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I think it's possible. I always love to go underpowered. I feel like it just
I
helps.
say because I know every time I had massive power, and prime example, when I was in Florida, I dropped a cylinder in my
Yeah, you go
Florida
faster
mud, and I was
sometimes.
so much faster. And my dad said, "We're gonna fix this even better." I'm like,
Yeah,
"No, we're gonna
no.
go backwards." But
Yeah,
okay.
please don't fix it.
Yeah, please don't fix it. But you know, that might be something you might want to look into because I mean, you'll probably beat those guys because a lot of those guys they're lead foot. They just want to put it right to the floor and burn the tires off.
Yeah, or they have to take it easy for so long. And what's been shown with ours is we can kind of just push the thing right from the start. We got to be a little easy, but
Yeah.
So I got to know what went into this decision. So you said you ran mini stocks for a year. 2 years. So when did you decide? I mean, the next logical step for most people would be street stock or something like that. So I'm putting that math at 15 years old, you jumped into a modified.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a big go-kart, I guess. That's kind of that was kind of the translation. The modified division was doing pretty well too at that point, and modifieds weren't what they are now.
What year is this that you went into the mods? Was
2013.
so these are like Bill Kimball stomping everybody years.
Yep, Iris Gates, Billy, Todd, those guys.
Man, you've raced against some of the legends in this division then too. And you've also, of course you have. I love this. I love that Michelle put this in here. Of course you've worked at every position at the racetrack because Michelle's like, you're just going to do whatever I need today. I'm sorry. Your mom said, I forget Michelle's your mom because she's just one of our coworkers now. So what was your favorite thing that you did at the racetrack working?
Being a race director.
Really?
That was
Oh, you did
cool.
the race. You did the race
Yep,
directing?
I did.
Oh, all the power too. That's like one job I refuse to do.
Yeah. I mean, I was 16, so I don't know if the drivers knew that when that was happening, but I mean, I think I did a pretty good job with it. And I mean, I kind of knew racing at that point. So once I got over that, it was
when did you get your first podium in the modified?
this year.
It was that one this year. It was good to see you out there. Your car was flying. Hey, is your paint scheme changed much? Because last year's scheme was awesome.
No, it's going to be exactly the same. The other one's going to be gray. It's going to be the same thing, just gray.
Okay, I like that when they do the offsets. Derek, so and I was listening, I think it was Hickory. One of the announcers were talking about your red bumpers, and there's a whole story behind it. What is the real story why you ran red bumpers? Because he talked about it for about 17 minutes straight.
Was it Alan Dietz?
It was Alan Dietz. We have Alan Dietz over here as well. I actually told Al. So John does an Alan Dietz, and I was on the phone with Alan. I was like, you got to talk to John because he does a better you than you. I said, so if you're ever sick, like,
That's hard to do,
just
too.
bring him in. Oh no, he does an amazing. He's not going to do it on air, but he does it.
I like Alan. He's been around for a long time. We've known him for a long time.
He was Alan Dietz for pretty much the entire PRI trip.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was funny as hell.
That's awesome. Honestly, so I don't really know how it started. I think we worked with AR to start, AR Bodies. And I think the red noses were cheaper, to be honest, or free. I don't even remember. But we ended up painting the roof, and the nose and tail were red already. So we had the roof red, the nose red, and the tail red. And it just kind of was like our thing. Louis was a big, like, he always painted the roofs of his cars like a orange or whatever. And
I wish I had grown up in this area so I got to see him race because everyone tells me like Louis was the best.
I hear it all.
And
the
I didn't
time,
know.
man.
I didn't know any of these people from down here, so I never had a clue.
Yep. Yeah. He's to this day, I still hear how good of a racer he is and was. So it's cool that we latched onto each other, I guess, and he's been working with me since. But I'm super lucky for that. But that's kind of how it started. It kind of just happened, and then we continued to do it because it was like our thing, and then.
Yeah, because you went from like basically a mini stock to a super late model.
Yeah, well, we ran an outlaw car for 1 year. It was old late model stock, and we bought it. It was like Jay Ferrera's car, I think.
Yeah.
We bought it and cut the thing in a million pieces and put it together. So And we ran that for a year, and then Louis like, hey, do you want to drive my Pro Stock? And yeah, of course. I'm 15 years old. I'm going to go and run that if I can. So we did that ever since. And that car was a 98 junior handler car, 1998 junior handler car. And we started racing it in 2013 maybe.
Wow.
Jeez.
So, I mean, that car was pretty old. And it still won a race. It won my first ever race I won in the Pro Stock was at Lee.
That car is not still around, is it?
It still is, yeah. It's at the shop.
On the shed.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you sold it.
Nope, it's got a body on it. It's ready. It's pretty much ready to go.
Can I come by the shop and touch it?
You can touch that one. Yeah, that one's probably down for a while. Yeah, we did sell. I sold my left-hander that we had we won a lot of races with, but yeah, someone in Seekonk has it. I don't know who has it, but.
Is racing in these upper divisions a lot of? I know it is monkey see, monkey do, because you see about every 4 years, it's like Hamke, Fury, this car, that car, and it's just like once one goes and wins in that car, now it's just like everybody. What does it be? What does it feel like to be on these teams that can just afford to say, I'm selling all this stuff and buying all this stuff? Like, this is ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense. That's the reason why we've stayed with the Fury manufacturer as long as we have, because it's not as easy for us to just be like, oh, well, here, let's throw out, $400,000 worth of stuff, including cars and everything, and just start over. It doesn't really work like that. We built up, we started with only one Fury car. We had left-handers forever, and I think we tried to buy another one, and they weren't building them, or they were having problems building them. I forget what happened. So we decided we were going to sell our left-handers and go to Fury, because we were really good friends with Jeff Foltz from going to Speed Weeks down there, and he was working with Harrison Burton at the time. And we'd see him at Merck's after every race, and we'd drink beers with him, hang out, and it just kind of turned into a relationship as he started Fury and everything else, and it just worked. They wanted to sell cars up here, so we got on a deal with them, and it all worked out. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to see how erratic everyone is. Like, who's the flavor of the month, and it's not like any of them are bad. It's just they need to be worked on. And if you can't work on them yourself, the easiest thing to do is buy one that's getting worked on by the best teams. Donnie Wilson has Hamke cars. They're arguably the best super late model teams in the industry right now, and they have Hamke cars. So
when you see what they do, when you walk by them, when apparently I snubbed Gary Ballou, and John's still mad about this to this day, and I hear about it weekly. Right past where he was set up was where the Donnie Wilson compound was at New Smyrna. And you see their setup, and you walk in, and you're like,
it's a cup setup.
This is something.
As close to NASCAR as you can get.
They had like 7 haulers, stackers with cars there. And they had their own little compound right when you come from the stands. And I was like, wow, this is the real deal. There's $10 million of equipment here.
William Byron driving the car, and guys who do this full time. So that's the biggest thing, is they have
Giro Ruggerio's running one of his cars now too, and being very successful.
Good. Yep, he's doing really good. But I watched them go through Derby qualifying stuff. After practice, they changed their exhaust to go to qualifying. Their headers and their full exhaust system to get. I don't know. I mean, it must be for something. I don't know why, but I don't know why you want to change your headers before qualifying, but they did, and it must be good for something. I saw them. They were changing the oil in the rear end. They were pulling oil out of the motor to make it so it had as little oil as possible. It's crazy. I mean, they're as nutty as you can be in racing, but that's why Hamke sells cars.
Yeah.
Most people don't see that side of it.
It's back in the old day of win on Sunday, sell on Monday. This is exactly what happens. They see these cars winning week in and week out, and then you'll get somebody that's just starting in racing and be like, Dad, that's what I need.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense when you can buy something turnkey out of the box that's winning right now. And I get it, but for what they sell the cars for, it just...
what is one of those, don't even say Donnie Wilson or any top tier level super late model ready to roll? What does that thing cost?
As a super?
Yep.
They range anywhere from 120 to 170, depending on who you buy it from.
Then you get guys going out there spinning people into the wall and just pulling another one out.
Yeah.
Like, that one's junk, I'm getting another.
Yeah, and then it costs them $60,000 to rebuild it, and they do the same thing the next week. It's amazing, really.
But so this is going to be a question for both of you guys here. So I'm going to start with you, so you start thinking off of this question. What do cars mean to you? Because there's 2 different kinds of drivers, where that car is just a car, and then there's people that have that connection with that car. Are you you'll just drive it, or do you have a favorite chassis? Do you have a favorite, that car means something to you? Does your car have a name?
Yeah, I never name them, but they do have definitely meaning. I was sad when we had to sell our left-handers because they really weren't worth a whole lot. They were, I think we sold as a roller complete with a body and everything for, $16,000. But I mean, the car
Can't even get a friggin' street stock for that.
Yeah, I mean,
now.
a body costs $7,000 right now. So, so I was sad to do that. But they do definitely mean something. Some of them mean bad things. Some of them I'm mad at. But honestly, overall, depending on how they treat me, I like them.
What is your favorite car that you've ran from any division, anytime? What is your favorite chassis? What is your favorite car?
Oh man, I'd say honestly, the car that I have right now, the white chassis car, is probably our best piece ever, I'd say. And there's nothing really spectacular about it. If you look at it right next to the other ones, they're the same thing. It responds so well. I mean, we can pull out a 30-second packer and I can feel it. So you don't really get that in all of them. Sometimes they don't react to things. Sometimes they're just not, they're not doing what they're supposed to do sometimes, which it's a race car. It's just going to happen to you.
That's leading into my next question.
Yeah.
What is it without, I don't even know how to ask this without, because I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Do you believe some cars are just evil?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course. Yeah, I mean, I've lived it myself. I mean, we've had cars that just don't like going
Anything?
good. Yeah, they don't like anything. Of course, they exist. I mean,
Those are Friday cars. They were assembled on a Friday.
there's usually remedies to it. There's usually something you can find. I mean, even I'm sure the Garrett who I bought the car off of that we have now wasn't spectacular happy with the car when he had it. It's just sometimes it just takes something else that you don't have or you can't have. So but they do exist. There's definitely some evil ones out there.
All right, JT.
Yeah, I name my cars.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I do. There's just, I guess there's just that attachment that, like, especially like the car I have now, the blue one that we raced last year. I've been running that thing for like 5 years.
What's that car's name?
Adeline.
Really? Adeline, okay.
She was always out of line and finally.
I actually like that.
Out of line. I like it.
So once she got all straightened out, though, I mean, I kind of thought that car was evil for a really long time. And
Explain to us why you thought this car was evil, because I've heard some stories about this car.
well, so we put 3 clips on it, and the second time we put a clip on it, we had to get a rear clip, and it was actually 5/8 out of square. So the last 2 clips we put on, we were still wondering why we were fighting it. And then the last time we went to a different chassis builder, and it actually fixed everything. He told us that there was no way you're going to be able to get everything straight when you're 5/8 out of square. So, I mean, we were fighting everything. We were putting all different types of springs, cross all the way up to like 65%. Just
So the
trying to get
chassis
car
being at a
react.
square was probably, after you just had it clipped, was one of the last things in your mind that it could be. So
Exactly.
you're probably questioning yourself, like, do I suck?
Yeah.
Is this really what it is?
I probably wouldn't have been racing that much longer if we didn't get it fixed.
So when you took that, the podium this year at Monadnock, what did that feel like for you for the first time? Because you've had some good runs, and then you just had crap happen to you. That's out of the blue. Some of it wasn't even your fault. How did that feel to you, vindication-wise?
I mean, it felt great. It kind of felt like we were finally doing something right and that the car was going in the right direction. I guess it took a really long time to get there. So finally getting it and then knocking off a couple more throughout the year and never could get that win, but still we're super fast every week. So
have you driven Gracie yet on a track?
I have not.
Where did that car come from? What's the story with Gracie?
That car we bought from Brian Roby.
Okay.
I don't think he ever raced it. It actually came from someone else who practiced it at Thompson. That's it, just off the jig. So that thing should have just been off the jig and practiced.
Isn't most of Roby car? Most of those are what's his name cars? Help me out here. The 60 Hirschman cars. Is that a Hirschman car?
It is not that's not a Hirschman car.
Gotcha.
So,
what track do you think you're gonna be running for championships at all the track?
Yep.
What track are you just hoping that you go out there, and obviously all of them, but you have 3 completely different tracks. Let's be honest here. And then, if you're running the 4th, all of these tracks, none of them are like. Are you worried in any way that this is going to hinder you a little bit by, You're racing one track on a Friday, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday, and they're completely different.
No, I mean, I used to do it when I was younger. So if I could do it when I was younger, I think I've been able to, I guess, mature a lot more since then. So I should be able to change my, I guess, line and being able to adjust from different track to different track.
So this is something for both of you guys, just because I sucked at racing and I was like a one-man crew, and I'll be honest, I never bought a tire in the entire 4 years that I raced. I never changed the oil in my car. I never worked on my car. Nothing ever blew up. The thing ran every single week, and that car went on to win like numerous championships after I sold it.
Because you're cursed, Mark.
Yeah.
We've been telling you this for the past couple of years, and
I'm not even going to touch my laptop because the show might shut off.
Don't touch the ceiling either. It might blow out.
Well, that guy did a pretty good job repairing it. You can barely tell a bunch of stuff fell through that roof recently.
Holy crap, that was scary.
Derek's right in the path of falling right now.
Nice. I can see it.
Watch out. He might still be mad. Explain to me the process as somebody who couldn't even figure out the track they raced every single weekend. What is the process when you pull to a new track for the first time of learning your limits, knowing where to even set the car up? How do you even figure that out?
It's hard. I think for me, I almost need like to run the racetrack and get out and just watch people on it. I have to walk it. I have to look at it. It's funny. We joke around. We say, like, if I go home and go to sleep, if I'm like totally out to lunch on day one, I go home, go to sleep, and come back, it's like something happens. I don't know why. I need that day to think about it and then get back to it. But setup wise, usually like we have enough friends that run around now that we get lucky where we can get a baseline, and then you just adjust from there. But I don't know. I got to go out at least that first practice and then get out of my car and watch. That's how I do it, at least. I don't know. And I guess like naturally, I just get comfortable doing it as I continue forward. I don't know. It's something that I can't really explain, I guess.
It's funny because in my head too, like maybe you get blinded by it because you see a guy like you're an upper level driver and you think maybe this is all you do. But yet every single time I go to your garage, you're in there doing something working. Like it's not like this is all you do. I go in there the other day, he is literally putting together vacuums. Like at his desk, he's like assembling Ryobi shop vacs. I was like, you got like 97 people working here and you're out here doing shop vacs.
Hey,
and they were mad I showed up because they were all at lunch. And Derek's like, why don't you go grab a scan tool and go figure this truck out? And the guy's like, lettuce was hanging out of his mouth. And he's like, really? So where do you find that, for both of you, where do you find that work-car balance? Because you both work full-time jobs. You're in the construction industry is what you do, and you own an auto shop, which you probably didn't expect your auto shop to be what it is today because you're busy and you have a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was going to be what it was. It's super busy. I'm lucky that the only reason I can do this is I have my guy, Tyler, at the shop. Unbelievable.
Is he the one that sits at the other desk?
Yes, at the one beside me.
I have to actually ask Ben. I was like, is that guy related to Derek? He
says
looks a lot
I tell
like
everyone,
you.
I just
he looks
say
like he's like your cousin.
He's my brother. He's my cousin. Yeah, it depends on who comes in. They're like,
he talks like you too, like his inflection and all that, and the way you talk about stuff. To me at least, he was always the same way.
Yeah, so we grew up together, and I hired him when he was in Rhode Island, and he didn't want to be there anymore. So he came on as like a 1099. Like I paid him to come work at a tiny little shop on the other side of town, and then we kind of blew up. So, but he handles a lot of my stress really for me. So it's unbelievable.
He's your me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it gives me enough time to work on the car and stuff because
because you're still involved in the entire car process too. Like you work on your stuff. You don't just let Louis do it.
To. Yeah. It's just part of the deal. I grew up. That was the deal. When I was younger, if I wanted to race, I had to put the time in. So I sacrificed a lot of my high school life for it, and I'm sure the
high school life sucks anyway.
The girlfriends at the time were not too happy about that, but
who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
You're married now. Who cares?
I thought it was like terrible at the time. I'm like, I'm not. No one wants to stick around, but it didn't really matter. So
you work down in the Boston area, right?
Yep.
How do you manage this? Because how far is it from Boston to your house where the car's kept? 2 hours every day.
Wow.
Sorry.
Leave at 5:30, get home at around 6:30 every day. But I just enjoy it too much. I come home and sit in the garage and I just start chipping away at it and then put a lot of time in on the weekends.
The garage at your house?
Yep.
See, yours isn't, so that probably your garage
It hurts a little bit, yeah. Yep.
Oh man.
One day, maybe. I don't know if I can get Louis over there to the house, so.
Louis done driving, right? Like he has a back injury, or is that what happened? I don't know a lot about Louis.
Yeah, he had a surgery a long time ago, I think, and I think it's totally in the cards of him coming out. He's been
Really?
Yeah, he's been busting my balls lately. He's saying he has a Fury car that he like kind of inherited from a deal or whatever, and he's saying he's gonna come and wax my ass with it. Like that's word for word, like kidding around. But I said,
Has he heard about this race called the North American Pro Stock Nationals?
Yeah.
Like I would love a Derek versus Louis shootout.
It almost happened one time, and he didn't do it. And Jason Boyd ran. So Jason Boyd ran Louis' car at Thompson, and I ran. It was my first time ever running at Thompson, and I finished 7th, and Jason finished like 4th. But yeah, it almost happened. It was so close. And same thing, he always loves to talk like that.
Do you think Louis is watching right now?
He more than likely is. Him or Dolly. I'm sure they're watching.
Dolly's great. I've never
Dolly.
actually spoken more than 7 words to her, but
The best.
seeing how much she cares about you,
Yeah.
like I feel like Dolly would throw somebody off the top of the spotter stand. Like I have a feeling
She
that would
might have before.
I
Yeah.
thought she was going to at that whole Van Meter bullshit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, let's get the bail money out.
Yeah,
Dolly's
yeah.
gonna need it.
His own spotter didn't even stick up for him, so she didn't have anything to stand on. Now I got it. Like I said, Dolly's like my mom pretty much at this point. Like for the last 10, 12 years, 14 years, I don't even know how long it's been. She's been like a mom figure to me too. So it's cool. I inherited a family. That's the only reason why I've done as good as I've done is because I had Louis, because I had Dolly, because I had their mother Chrissy, their father Big Lou. I had those people in my corner, and they wanted nothing in return other than just like me to take it seriously. Which when I was younger, I struggled with a little tiny bit, to be honest. But it became a lot clearer to see when, like as I got older. I'm like, it's super lucky to have them.
One of the things that's pretty universally said about your race team, and everybody involved with it is you have 2 different kind of drivers out there. The ones that be like, oh, that guy. Or like when you ask anybody about Derek, they're always like, oh yeah, he's super nice. Like, how can you still maintain that? Because I'll tell you, when you jumped out of that car at New
You know how
Smyrna,
many people were jumping
everybody
for joy?
was loving
Punch
it.
him! Punch him!
And then somebody had to ruin the party and say, hit him in the throat. And everyone's like, what's going on here?
It's just like, at what point is it just like not worth it? That's how I see it. It's like, so yeah, I could tee off on this guy in his car, but how do I look after that? I feel like I look like the idiot, not him. I know most people would like it, but I'd go home and be like, I'd see that on TV and I'd be like, wow, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, we loved it. I played that clip back
TV
like
time.
19
I
times.
know.
TV
If he got
time,
out, it was
man.
game on. But it had to be fair. Like I told him to get out of his car, and he wouldn't get out. That was like that was the fair game. Like I said, if he didn't even take, like, his Hans was hooked up and everything. He didn't even try to get out of his car.
I love the fact that you walked away, you got back to the nose of your car, and then you're like, I'm not done. And then you spin back around and went back
I just
to chat with
asked him. I'm like, well, you just do this all the time, like
sharing recipes, right?
Yeah,
like
that's all it was.
Christmas cards.
Yeah. So that normally doesn't happen, but I think the frustration levels were a little high there.
So Pro Stock Nationals coming up. You're definitely in the cards, and apparently Louis might now be too, which would be super cool too.
I want a crew chief for Louis. That's a goal for me.
Really?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do it. I even said it to him the other day. I said, I'm crew chiefing for you. I hope he runs like a weekly show at Lee or anywhere at Oxford. And
I would love to see that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I have to, at least before he is way too old to get in a car, I have to see Louis drive in person. Like, I really want to.
So like probably 3 years ago, I think 3 years ago, he tested a car at Star. And we were within a tenth of each other. So it was cool. It was cool for me to be able to, share a lot of experiences that with them. It's been pretty neat. But I would love to do something for him for once rather than him do something for me. And I don't know. We'll see.
JT, going into the season, what would you consider a successful season by the end of this? When we're talking in October 15th, after everything's all done, what is a successful season for you?
2 cars still standing.
Hey, you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, that would honestly be the best.
Yeah.
I want to see you take home a podium. I want to see you get a win in that mod. It's definitely going to be Gracie because it's going to be at Hudson and Claremont. So if Gracie doesn't live up, are you going to bring Adeline back out?
Yeah. I mean, I guess at this point we're feeling it out. I don't even know. I might like the Gracie better at the other tracks, and I might end up being that's the car I want to make the main car at that point, and we can look into that. But again, I haven't even taken her out on the track, so I have no idea what I'm supposed to expect or anything like that.
So obviously we know your mom is Michelle, who was the general manager of Monadnock for God knows how long. In your family, are you the only racer, or are there more? Like, I know you have some cousins and stuff like that race, but your direct family, are you the first line of a racer?
My grandfather raced a long time ago, and my dad raced a little bit. I know he raced enduros for a little while. I don't think he was very good, but that's
sorry, JT's dad. You apparently weren't very good. This season coming up, we got a lot of big races. I do want to see you try to dip your toe into one of these tour style races. I think Ben is onto something here. I think your car would be very competitive with it at Hudson.
Yeah, I mean,
even an extent Claremont.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely do it. I guess I wouldn't want to put a championship in jeopardy for that exact reason. Also, I guess we'll have to see what the times are like. If we can't keep up to the tour and that's how that's going to be, then I guess it wouldn't be really worth it to me and end up in the wall or something like that, just trying to ride around and keep the car in one piece. But I mean, I would definitely like to do it.
So obviously you had your first podium this year, but let's take that podium off the plate. I want to know your best racing memory that you have, and then I have to know your worst. Like, what is one thing that will go down that you say, like, that was a good day? And what's a day you want to forget?
I'm not sure if it was, I guess, a good day. I raced at 106 in go-karts a long time ago.
Was it when Mike Marshall ran it?
Maybe. I'm not quite sure. But I was driving two cars at that point. I was driving the Tiger car and I was driving the Champ Kart. And the Champ Kart series was there. And we actually went out and won the Tiger A, went in the Champ Kart series that we weren't even set up to be in at that point, and won that one too. And both of my motors came home in a box because they didn't believe that could do that. So, and we were kind of outsiders at that point. So, I mean, it was probably one of my favorite times. Also, I won 10 in a row at Stafford. So that was definitely a pretty fun moment. The worst is probably the modified before the first time we ended up getting it clipped. I went out and ran a super fast time on like lap 5 running on the outside and ended up catching wheels coming at it too of Monadnock and hit that wall so hard I bent my steering wheel. I stretched my belts. Jesus. The motor plate was ½ inch bent backwards almost.
Was that your hardest hit ever?
Absolutely.
Man, is there any footage of it anywheres?
Maybe.
So
I'd have to look.
I have to know, because Derek just was here this weekend, and it's like I said, it's been a topic of discussion. You had a fairly hard hit at Loudon not too long ago.
2 years ago. The memory is today. It's today, I think.
Is that the hardest hit you've ever had?
No, so I think it's like a misconception because it looked terrible, right? Like it looked awful. But
you were slowing down as you were doing your
I hit
weird
the safer barrier.
Yeah.
And instead of the safer barrier, like sucking up the impact, it kind of just put me up. So it wasn't a bad hit at all. I didn't even have like no signs of concussion, nothing at all. I've wrecked way worse running.
What's your worst hit you've ever had?
That I ever had? Man, there's two of them that are really, really close. I ran Jamie Skinner's car at Speed Weeks one year because he was having some issues with they just needed somebody to get in it and see what was going on. So I let the whole field take off, and I used the feature as a practice. And I came off turn 4 after having a vibration, and the whole left rear axle pin broke off of the axle, and it's 360 degree around and stuffed nose into the turn 4 wall. And when I tell you every single fluid was leaking on the ground, everything. There was power steering fluid, there was brake fluid, motor oil. I mean, everything was a coolant was like it was a disaster. There was rear end, gear oil everywhere. It was a mess.
That's I think I remember. It was a brand new car, wasn't it?
I think it was older, but it was just freshly gone through.
Oh, okay.
And they run these. They had an issue with, I think the axle broke in like the actual axle inside broke, and it flexed and touched the axle pin, so it separated off. And I mean, the front hoops were wrapped around the front of the motor. It was terrible.
Holy crap!
It didn't really hurt me at all because I hit straight on. And then probably the worst, like how I felt after, was Jennerstown when me and Jesse Love got into it. And because I hit driver's side door in and they don't have safer barriers there. We're running dry sump motors. I mean, we're probably going 135, 140. Oof. And I hit driver's side in, and it just like, I mean, that car was awful. Like,
what are you hitting speed-wise at Lee, top speed? I've always wondered that.
With our motors, probably like 115.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. You last year put on a show leading into the Kyle Busch race when you were practicing. Probably one of the best side-by-side battles I've ever seen in my life, because you guys were right there the entire time. So as a driver, you know from seeing who's out there, who you can trust, who you can drive next to.
Of course.
What's a surprise that we might find as a surprise of a driver that maybe comes off as really aggressive, but maybe he's actually really nice out there?
Well, I mean, Kyle's one, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I've raced with him a bunch over the years, and I think he ran me in the front stretch fence at Pensacola one time.
Super nice, though.
Yeah, but
I'm just playing.
He apologized. He said, "I'm sorry."
He's one of my favorite drivers. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've got along with Kyle pretty good over the years, but he ran me in the front stretch fence, and Tony Hirschman is his spotter. We're really good friends with Tony, and he's like, "Tell the 12, I'm sorry. I thought I had a little bit more room." So he told Dolly. Dolly told me. That was while we're still racing. So I'm like, that's cool. I mean, I don't think he apologizes to many people ever. Him, and then, I mean, I feel like everybody has kind of like a story about Mike Rowe being just a really, really hard-nosed racer and just really rough. And like, I've run I remember to this day, I was terrible at Beach Ridge Motor Speedway. Terrible. Like, we couldn't finish inside the top 20 in a pass race. We were terrible. And me and Mike Rowe raced each other for what I think was 70 laps in a 150-lap race, side by side, just swapping over without touching each other. And he got out and gave me a hug. And I didn't even know him at that time. That's awesome. And ever since then, I mean, like I said, people have said, that he's just super old school. And I mean, I got nothing but good things to say about him. So
we're actually up against the hour here, but I do have one final question for each of you before I let you talk about your sponsors and stuff like that. Who did you look up to as a driver, as a young guy, as a driver? Now that you have little kids looking up to you, who made that connection to you when you were a kid?
Probably Joey Pole.
Really? How much older is Joey Pole than you?
I'm 27. I don't know how much older he is.
No, he's like my age.
He's like in the high 30s.
I'm 36. I think he's like 34.
Yeah, so he just got a much earlier start than I did. So he was running the mini cup stuff, and he
also didn't have very much luck at Loudon this week either. I saw his car.
Yeah, just how it happens. But he was running ACT. I mean, he did the Busch North stuff. I mean, he did everything 10 years before I did it. So when and he was such a like relatable person to talk to. He was, worked at his dad's shop. He was super quiet, nice, always gave people the time. So like, I always wanted to be like that. That was like my goal. It was like, I want to be like Joey. I want to win races. I want to be polite about it. I want to talk to people and give them the time of the day. And I feel like he still does that to this day. So
you look at the two guys that made it, quote unquote, somewhat big time. You, Joey Pole, you guys are two of the nicest people out there, which is,
and you're from Hudson too.
I know that's that's weird in itself.
Yeah. But I just always looked up to him. I thought he was so impressive how well he did.
So JT, who was your racing inspiration growing up?
Teddy Christopher.
All right, so there's no doubt you were in a modified. Okay, awesome. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
I run 13. I mean, that was because of him. I used to go out to Stafford all the time. I raced there. I used to go watch him race all the time. Yeah, I love watching it.
Man, that's awesome. Who do you have for sponsors that get you to the track each and every week?
Right now I got two. I have KG Performance and Chasey Steel.
Wow, look at that. Nice Hudson area.
Chase
Feel
Seal the
nice.
sponsor
Yeah,
you?
this morning we found out. This
That
morning,
is
yeah.
awesome.
That is
I've been
awesome.
trying to get money out of that guy forever. He won't sponsor the track. I have Steve's personal phone. I'm gonna go bust his balls.
Ben walks out of there
Wait
looking
till I
for
get the sticker
sponsorship money,
first.
and then he actually walks away probably giving him money. He's like, "Oh, this happened."
No. Steve actually has helped out the track a lot.
Oh, he does a lot,
He
'cause
does
that's
a
the
lot.
overlook
He
flow
does a lot.
parking
I
and-
just like to bust his balls though.
That's funny.
Who gets you to the track each and every week?
So LCM Racing, of course, Louis, and we have a new sponsor this year, JGS Construction, Dan Small, fresh, just kind of a friend sort of deal. He used to own, I think, Kirk Alexander's Modifieds in the 90s.
The 76.
Yeah, so I think a long time ago. So that was cool that he's kind of back into
No,
racing.
not 76. Sorry. I messed that one up. Yeah, that was Peter Daniels. Sorry. Somebody's going to correct me here. I'm going to get like 17 people saying something to me.
Chelmsford Wholesale, Ricky, he's a crew member that comes around everywhere. And then, I mean, we've had a couple come and go here and there. We had Tyler Chase on for a little while, so I'm sure we'll have some more at the end of the year.
Who's the guy who called the show like 2 years ago when you were on?
Marty, from Pepper Jack.
Yeah.
He's he did a bunch with me last year, but he primarily works with like Derek Thorne and Connor Jones and some other big names out west, and they I've worked a bunch of deals with Marty. He's an awesome guy and gave me a lot of connections that I necessarily wouldn't have had unless I worked with them. So Marty and Misty were awesome.
Marty and Misty, come on back to the 12G.
He might be watching. He
Pro
loves this
Stock
stuff.
Nationals. This car may win. It probably, I guarantee if Derek finishes up front, no matter what he says, now he's taking the challenge. 100%, because Derek wants to go home with $40,001. Lee, North American Pro Stock Nationals is where it all goes down.
Say $1.
$40,001.
Oh, 40,000. I thought you meant in ones. I'm like, how
that'd
am I
be-
going to leave with that?
That would be that's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember, John? I know he does. Back in the old WWE days when you would have the big chest of money, that would be awesome. You just got to have somebody hang around guarding it the entire time.
I feel like that's right
Just
up your alley.
like my dad would be stealing it.
Your dad's like, "Don't worry, Benny, I'll watch it." You want to hand your new friend over to Ben before we go?
You got to put him on.
I'm not. We already tried. I am too fat for this. So this is going to be our new sponsor. Oh, not new sponsor. New mascot. Sorry, no, new mascot. My bad. Have we come up with a name with them? Name? Have we?
We have.
All right.
His name is Wheelie,
He's Wheelie.
which is weird because he's a hockey puck. I don't get it.
That's Wheelie original.
Wheelie original. Ah, yes. Now I see why Derek went into racing and not comedy.
Original Wheelman's got a sponsor. Where's Kevin?
We unfortunately moved nights, and this night doesn't work for him. And his gravel business has gotten extremely busy.
That's who needs to be in that suit. It just came to me. Yeah.
We were thinking Hennessy's, but I guess Kevin could do it.
Kevin would he would be a lot more energetic, I think.
He would be.
Oh, Kevin would make a great wheelie. Kevin, reach out to me. Get you on. We are not going to have a show next week. I will be in Claremont. The Spring Fling Day 1 and Day 2 next week at Claremont. You get practice on Friday, racing Saturday and Sunday. I hope everybody makes it out. There are a lot of big money races on the line. This coming weekend, Saturday, Claremont Motorsports Park has open practice. Hudson Speedway on Sunday has open practice. All the links are available online, including registration. Running's Car Show. What day is that? The 21st. That should be fun. And I want to make sure you are all invited. Everybody's invited to that show, even if you are in an auxiliary division that doesn't run there, mini cups, dwarf cars. If you race at any one of those tracks, you are invited. I don't even care if you don't race at that track. You guys are all I'm officially giving the invite because apparently some people didn't get an invite. Now it's out to everybody. So that's all I have. If you haven't joined the mailing list, which is now approaching 1,700 people strong, it is available on the RaceDay Productions website. Just go ahead to go to racedayproductions.com and just hit mail in the top right-hand corner. You can join the fun. We give away some stuff in there. If you have not seen the new Lee USA shirts, wow, those things are great. 70 years of fast cars and freedom, and then you got the North American Pro Stock National shirts with stickers. So somebody, It makes me wonder because we post about this stuff all the time. We have event stickers, we have event shirts, we have stickers for all these different stuff. And if you see me at a racetrack, say, hey, I want a sticker, and we'll go ahead and I got a bunch for you. Derek, go ahead and say goodbye to everybody.
See you later. Thanks for having me.
JT.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Ben.
Yeah, see ya.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. Claremont Motorsports Park, opening night, Spring Fling next Saturday. We'll see you guys then. Have a good one.